I was raised in Bloomfield Hills. You know, I come from an affluent family. Pretty much had everything I wanted, had good schooling, everything else. But I decided that crime was the way for me to go. I just did not want to be part of the system, status quo, which ended up in my getting incarcerated at the age of 17 and ended up in prison. And I was about 2 weeks into prison, and I got jumped by 7 black guys in the field house, sticking up for another guy. And as a result of that, I became a knee-jerk racist because I was led to believe that blacks were on the other side of the tracks. You know, if it ain't white, it ain't right. It was a philosophy I lived by. Because of that, I was young, I was charismatic. A lot of people within the prison system, old head convicts and everything, took a liking to me, and they taught me the trades, and I aspired to be like them, only a little bit better. And because of that, I tried living up to my name, Billy Kid. The enemy got me caught up in a vicious little mindset where, you know, I'm a racist, I'm the head of the separatists, but I still had a black friend. And if you can put that all into one mixture, it's pretty hard. You know, I had it's probably why I never sat around and thought about it very much. And I came to the realization that everybody in my life either hated me or feared me. If I died, they would be happy. And I had a daughter at that time who was, you know, very limited touch with her, that I'd started wondering, what kind of legacy am I leaving her? You know, it's just hatred, racism, bitterness. And right in the midst of that, I had a flashback to when I was a child. And it took me back to my house in Bloomfield Hills and down in the den, a nice tree in the window. It was around Christmas time, my brother and sisters and mom and dad and the dog. And it's one of those Rockwell moments. And I'm like, wow. And all of a sudden I flashed back, and I was in a prison cell. I was like, I had that realization, like, what the hell did I do to my life? How did I end up here? It was like a bad dream. And at that point, I realized I told God, I said, I'm done with it. I knew who Jesus Christ was. I knew I was living a lie for 18 years. I knew it, no doubt. And I just surrendered and I gave up. The places of bondage were racism, just outlaw lifestyle, and hatred, because it was easy to hate. You know, I used to blame prosecutors, judges, cops, and everybody else, but I never looked at myself as being the fault. So my biggest bondage, I guess you could say, was my reputation. And that was what always got me in trouble. And that was what always never allowed me to be spontaneous. So I'm no longer in bondage to my reputation. Freedom in Christ to me is essentially, you know, he died for my sins when I was still a sinner. I mean, and that means, in another term, he died for me while I was still an enemy. So in other words, you know, I got a thick skull. He said, like, hey, dummy, you can't go beyond being an enemy, so you can't go someplace I can't forgive you of. You know, so that's my freedom in Christ, is forgiveness. I just know I'm forgiven. Freedom to me means I am forgiven.